one of its two majority Black House districts. Details from Bernie Bennett.
The map approved Friday is designed to give Louisiana a 5-1 split in Republicans' favor. The U.S. Supreme Court last month struck down one of the state's majority black districts as an illegal racial gerrymander, weakening the landmark 1965 Federal Voting Rights Act. That decision intensified a national battle over partisan redistricting fueled by President Donald Trump's efforts to protect the GOP's slim House majority in this year's midterm elections. Republican Governor Jeff Landry is expected to sign the measure. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Virginia State Police say a bus crashed into vehicles slowing for a work zone on Interstate 95 early Friday, killing 5 people in 2 cars and sending dozens to hospitals. That crash happened at about 2:35 a.m. on southbound I-95 in Stafford County. All 5 of those killed were from Massachusetts. Questions are swirling in Texas politics, that following a notable social media post from Senator John Cornyn.
Texas Senator John Cornyn is drawing attention after posting the well-known scorpion and frog fable on social media. The message comes just days after Attorney General Ken Paxton's Senate runoff victory, and after Cornyn pledged his support for the Republican nominee in November, leaving many Republicans questioning the timing of the post. Willie Nelson, the White House.
More on these stories from townhall.com.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-573-4400. That's 800-573-4400. Again, that's 800-573-4400.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy and mild and still a chance for a couple showers into the evening hours. Overnight low of 68 degrees, then a high of 82 Saturday. While we have a lot of dry time, there is a 20% chance for an isolated thunder shower. And on Sunday, similar. Lots of dry time, but a 20% chance for a shower or storm and a high of 83 for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. At Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor, you're receiving protection for your home, your family, and your peace of mind.
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I
think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
What is up, St. Louis? Good afternoon and welcome into the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on News Talk STL. Of course, that is not the voice of Tim or Chris. My name is Nate Lucas. I come to you live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. I have been a contributor on this station actually since I think the first week that operations began, which is, Joey, is it like been 5 years that News Talk has been on the air now, or maybe even longer than 5 years? How are you, Joey?
Doing wonderful. It's coming up in the next month. It'll be our 5-year anniversary.
It's crazy, and it's awesome. The operation, everything that has happened with News Talk STL to rival, of course, Soros Radio in St. Louis, and it is always an honor to be on these airwaves. It is 79 degrees and sunny outside here in DC, and Joey, you were just telling me you did a few laps to get ready for the show in the parking lot outside. I understand the weather's nice in St. Louis as well.
Yeah, of course. 83 degrees and muggy if you're wearing a Cardinals sweatshirt like I am today.
Yes, you got to show off a little bit of Cardinals gear with the Cubs in town for the weekend series. That should be fun down at Busch Stadium, but we have a lot to get into over the next 2 hours. Coming up in the next segment, Dr. Bob Onder will join us, Congressman from Missouri's 3rd District. A couple of things going on last week up in D.C. that we'll talk to Dr. Onder about. Coming up in the latter part of the first hour, Chris Stigall. He's a former syndicated radio host. You may have heard him on the airwaves over the decades, but he is now running for the seat that is currently occupied by Sam Graves. Sam Graves is the chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and he has retired. He is retiring, so he is an outgoing member, and Chris Stigall is one of the folks who is running for that seat, and he will join us coming up at about 4:45. In the 5 o'clock hour to kick us off, Kevin Slayton, who I did a show with in St. Louis, the King, as he's known on St. Louis airwaves. He will join us to talk a little bit of sports, a little bit of politics. Who knows? It's always kind of chaotic when Kevin Slayton and myself are on the airwaves together. And then at about 5:20, we're going to go through some polling numbers and some of the stuff that came out of the this week with what happened in Texas. And I've got an article with a publication up here in D.C. that I'm pretty sure is not read by anyone in Missouri. It's very inside the Beltway 101. It's almost like TMZ, but it's a good read for those of us who work on Capitol Hill to kind of get an overview of what's going on, and that would be Punchbowl News. And their lead today was how Iowa could be in play for the Democrats. And the first thing that I had to think of when Iowa was back in play for the Democrats was about a month before the election in 2024, when a poll came out that showed that Trump was actually losing the state of Iowa. Of course, he carried Iowa by, I believe, 13 points. So we'll get into what they're saying and also some of the real issues that I think Republicans face with the midterms coming up in November. And then to close out the show, Joey, you sent me this trailer for a movie that is either out today or it's coming out this weekend called Backrooms. And I put a little video up on social media teasing who we had coming up on the show today. And I mean, I'm not really one for scary movies, and whatever the hell that trailer was that you showed me, I'm not quite sure I'll be watching that one in theaters or at home. It looked very sketchy. So I don't know what you're into over there, brother.
Yeah, it comes out today, and it's about a haunted furniture store. So we'll find out at 5:45 if it's something you should take the kids to.
I look forward to hearing all about that. It is so, like I said, it's so beautiful in D.C. A couple of coworkers and I walked over. You know, there's an initiative through executive order to make D.C. beautiful again as we embark on the 250th birthday of America. And we walked over to Union Station, which when I first got to DC, which was August of 2024, Union Station compared to what it looks like today is night and day difference. There is a beautiful Columbus fountain, which is now flowing. And get this, Joey, it had been non-functional for the last 19 years. And finally, I think it was yesterday that it was officially opened, but Columbus Circle, which is a historic front door to really all of Washington, D.C., and of course, Union Station, which is a beautiful, beautiful facility. And it's really nice to walk somewhere in D.C. and see the ongoing cleanup efforts ongoing. I think some of what they've put out rhetoric-wise, the administration, I'm saying, with the crime going down, yes, I think it has gotten better. I live in a neighborhood that is literally, I mean, I can walk out onto my balcony, look left, and see the Capitol. It's about a 10-minute walk to the U.S. Capitol. And this has been a haven for what a lot of people have referred to as these teen takeovers, where you essentially have mobs of young teens that can basically get into a brawl. Just like a week and a half ago, they got into a big fight in a Chipotle in Navy Yard, which I think that video went viral. So they're like doing some good things when it comes to restoring the beauty of this city. But I have to say, in just a year and a half of being in Washington, D.C., to see some of the monuments and stuff get cleaned up, the homeless population either be moved out of wherever they were, it is a sight to behold. So I will commend the Trump administration for some of the cleanup efforts. I wonder if St. Louis could get their act in order and maybe get the city of St. Louis cleaned up. But something tells me that leadership in the city of St. Louis and their cleanup efforts, they won't be as productive as perhaps President Donald Trump has been in D.C., at least in a year and a half. There's a long way to go, but I'm telling you, walking by Union Station, which looked like a third world country a year and a half ago, it was filled with homeless people. It was graffitied. And you know what? Probably the groups that get bussed in to protest whatever they're protesting on any given day, they will bring the graffiti cans out once again, and taxpayers will pay for them to scrub it off. But at least in today's small glimpse, I have to say, I commend them for how well it looks. So excellent job. And it's cool. I mean, to think that is, to me, the most basic function of government, especially in D.C., is to have the nation's capital at least aesthetically pleasing, right? I mean, am I crazy to think that a fountain, which 19 years, that covers how many presidential administrations and how many different members of Congress and how many different council members on the D.C. Board? Like, how many people did this have to go through in order to just get a water fountain back up and functional? And in some ways, it's almost a microcosm of how dysfunctional D.C. is when you think that a water fountain and something that is as simple as turning the switch on and taking the graffiti off and cleaning out the homeless people took them 19 years to accomplish. It's truly somewhat remarkable. It is a bit of a slower news week, but this is sort of the calm before the storm. There are a lot of things kind of cooking right now in backroom deals with, in particularly, the Senate. The House of Representatives will return next Wednesday, and we'll have a little bit clearer picture as to what the Senate and how their relationship with the president is going to sort of work together over the next handful of months. But right now, it is, I think it's pretty dysfunctional. I'll tell you why. First of all, President Trump certainly was unhappy with several of the individuals in the Senate. And we saw that play out with Bill Cassidy losing his reelection primary, the senator from Louisiana. Of course, the president decided to endorse Ken Paxton, the attorney general in Texas, over the sitting incumbent John Cornyn. And if I've learned a thing or two about working on Capitol Hill, it is that the Senate, which is a body of 100 individuals, they operate like they are the board members of Augusta National. they are the upper chamber, and they are an institution that they like to protect. Me being from the sports world, the best way that I can make an analogy would be to suggest that it's somewhat like what the NFL does, where no one wants to attack the shield. Well, nobody really wants to attack the internal seal of the U.S. Senate. And when you do that, you will draw ire from both sides of the aisle. And that is, without question, something that the Senate has that they can do, probably because they're a more smaller body than the U.S. House of Representatives, which is like 435 people. And my God, if you've ever done a deep dive on about 97, 98% of the creatures that roam the halls in the U.S. House of Representatives, you can see why it's a little bit more chaotic, say, than like the Senate. But so that pissed off the Senate, all right? You got Senate leadership and John Thune, who's been hearing all about the Save America Act. For whatever reason, they won't, bring that to a vote, even to put people's vote on record. And part of the reason they don't bring it to a vote is, again, to protect the institution. So you've got several things going on in the political world that are going to be playing out over the next handful of weeks. And those all have to do with maybe two, but probably one reconciliation bill. And the main drivers of at least Reconciliation 2.0, and the reason why it's called Reconciliation 2.0, because Reconciliation, the bill done last year, was the One Big Beautiful Bill, or we can't really call it that anymore. They're referring to it as the Working Families Tax Cut Jobs Act or something like that, because it polled better with consultants. But the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed through reconciliation, and those are budgetary items that you can pass through the Senate with a simple majority. And so right now, because the numbers, the thin majority that they have in both the House and the Senate, but most importantly in the Senate, where it would ordinarily take 60 votes to get a bill passed, you can only through reconciliation you can get a bill passed with just a simple majority, so 51. And that's how the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. Well, because the Senate screwed up in their negotiations with the Democrats on how to fund ICE and Customs and Border Patrol, they're now having to waste a reconciliation bill on funding ICE and funding CBP. And then thrown into that mix, because we're in this conflict or really war with Iran and Israel and whatever's going on in the Middle East, you've got the Pentagon that is requesting $1.5 trillion in spending, and you've got a National Defense Authorization Act, which is also coming down the pipeline, and the text of that massive piece of legislation was just released yesterday. So all that I'm getting to is that, yes, things are seemingly a little quiet on the political front, but I can assure you that in the coming weeks, there are going to be some fights within Congress, and it might just begin to start showing itself to the public that this cozy love affair between the Trump administration and the Senate and the House isn't so cozy. And that is something that I would keep an eye on as we move forward, particularly now that you've drawn the ire of senators like Cassidy and Cornyn, and they have no political they will not have their political gun to their head to do whatever the Trump administration wants, because the Trump administration has already used the war chest, the money, to go against those two. So there's probably some built-in frustration with the Trump administration, and they are not going to be easy to move on legislation where every single vote on the Republican side is critical, knowing that you're likely not going to get any Senate Democrats to move forward on any legislation. I mean, maybe John Fetterman, who knows? I don't even know if John Fetterman knows what he's doing. But the point is that every single vote on the Republican side is going to be critical. And while the One Big Beautiful Bill eventually did pass on July 4th, it was like pulling out teeth and pulling out hair for months to get to the final stages, which was an imperfect bill that's going to spend a lot of money, but every side, every faction of the Republican Party felt like they had enough wins to ultimately pass the bill. This is a different conversation because you've got a lot more dynamics in play. You've got senators now who are not exactly thrilled that the president used his political war chest to take them out. And, you've got this ongoing war in Iran, which has, by and large, sidelined almost every single piece of domestic policy that Americans right now are feeling. And, we just had a long weekend with the Memorial Day holiday. A lot of people traveling and a lot of people filling up their gas tanks with the national gas average now over $4.40. Inflation has driven prices through the roof. You go out to eat for a slice of pizza and a beer, and it's like $35. Things are just very expensive right now, and Americans tend to vote with their wallets. And when you are forcing them to somehow accept an administration that ran on no foreign wars and lowering prices and making America great again, and now we're in a foreign war and prices are not going down, and then you have lines from the president himself saying that he doesn't really care, doesn't really think about Americans in their financial situation when it comes to his decision making in the Middle East. It's like, boy, this is a very different tune than the one, at least I'll speak for myself, than what I voted for in November of 2024. So there are a lot of moving parts, and we'll see where it all shakes out. But there is a lot of legislation that needs to move between now and November. And I just don't see how they're going to get all of this done with such a short window. I think they've sort of sat on their heels a little bit and played like, oh, well, we're going to carry the one big beautiful bill and the tax cuts and the no tax on overtime and no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security. We're going to just carry that momentum wave all the way through. Mind you, that was July of 2025. Okay, we are almost a year removed from that bill. Do you know how fast the time moves? Like, Americans are not thinking about a year ago wondering, oh, that was such a great thing that we passed the one big beautiful. No, they're like, I just filled my gas tank up and it's $5 a gallon. Like, what the hell's going on? So Republicans really need to get their act in order, and I don't have a whole lot of faith because of the multiple divisions within the party that they're going to be able to make up the ground. And as we approach November, I'm telling you, and we'll talk a little bit more about this once we get into the second hour with the polling out of Iowa and what could be in store there. But affordability is the issue. It is the number one issue. It is the number two issue. And it is the number three issue. And this goes back as far as political analogies you could possibly find in the book. And it's all about the economy, dummy. And when the economy is bad and people are sitting with rising credit card debt and their healthcare costs are out of control and they're paying $5 a gallon at the pump, that's not a strong recipe for success. And Republicans seem to be missing the red beaming lights staring right back at them as we head into the midterms. We will talk with one of those congressmen, Dr. Bob Onder, when we come back from a short timeout. Congressman from Missouri's 3rd District, Dr. Bob Onder, will join us when we return. This is the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy and mild and still a chance for a couple showers into the evening hours. Overnight low of 68 degrees, then a high of 82 Saturday. While we have a lot of dry time, there is a 20% chance for an isolated thunder shower. And on Sunday, similar. Lots of dry time, but a 20% chance for a shower or storm and a high of 83 for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
You know what your one-stop shop is for all the aches and pains that you may have? Yes, Comprehensive Chiropractic. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Because I have personally been a patient for nearly 2 decades. Doctors Fader and Gorman and Benton, they're so awesome. They have helped me on so many occasions recover from all sorts of day-to-day aches and pains. from acute injuries, chronic injuries, things that just develop with age, things that develop with different habits or different things you're involved in. They can help people of all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, codes, and ages. My daughters, who are both athletes, have used Comprehensive Chiropractic, so has my wife, many of my family members, my neighbors, and so much more, because they're just that good. They can also help you get in shape and stay in shape. They've got the studio upstairs. It's a health and wellness center, Pilates, yoga classes with experienced instructors. They have the licensed massage therapists, and they have the personal trainers. It is very affordable, very reasonable. They'll work with your schedule. They can help you with anything that may be aching or paining your neck, your joints. They can also help you with your diet. Yes, holistic types of supplements and all sorts of advice there to make sure that what you're putting in your body is the right kinds of stuff. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance from stem to stern. They are the best in the land. They're at cchiropractic.com. They're at cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stigall. Contact your Stigall financial advisor at Stigall.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Dr. Bob Onder, Congressman for Missouri's 3rd District.
We're calling Dr. Bob. We're calling Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob.
He is the congressman from Missouri's 3rd District. Dr. Bob Onder joins us live here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, live on a Friday. My name is Nate Lucas, filling in for Tim and Chris, and we are in the nation's capital, where Dr. Bob kind of calls home. I assume you're back in Missouri, though, right now. How are you, sir?
I'm back in Missouri. Always great to be home, Nate. Great to be on tonight.
Love being home. Got to spend a little bit of time last weekend in Missouri, and it never faults. And then you come back to D.C. and you're like, oh yeah, here we go. But
we're back again.
We're back again. But it's a calm before the storm. I was just kind of mentioning in that first segment that it might be a little quiet right now on the political scene, but the truth is, Congressman, that there are a lot of things kind of moving behind the scenes, in particular reconciliation and whatever happens with the Senate and the relationship with the president right now.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Nate, I don't think it was ever a good idea to give in to, the Democrats and fund the Department of Homeland Security without funding ICE and Border Patrol. But that is where we are. So, we are almost due in September to have the 2027 fiscal year budget passed. We're not even finished with the 2026 fiscal year budget because we still haven't funded ICE and Border Patrol. The president's finding the money elsewhere, of course, But yes, over in the Senate, and by the way, the U.S. House of Representatives 5 times has voted to fully fund all of the Department of Homeland Security, including ICE and Border Patrol. But the Democrats always put illegal aliens first before the American people, and now the Senate is taking their time about passing that final reconciliation bill, a bill they can pass with only Republican votes, to finally fund our brave men and women who enforce our immigration laws.
And those brave men and women, Congressman, have been under attack. We've seen the left bring out some of the similar rhetoric from their defund the police movement years ago. And of course, St. Louis was right in the forefront of that with everything that transpired in Ferguson and then the mass riots across the country. But we're sort of seeing that defund the police 2.0 act, except now it's against federal agents and ICE agents and Customs and Border Patrol. They're really on a warpath to demonize these individuals.
Well, yeah, that's right, Nate, and I think that's 100% the BLM and Antifa agitators and violent thugs, in some cases murderers, who pushed the defund the police movement beginning back, you're right, in Ferguson, right after I was elected to the Missouri Senate in 2014. So 12 years ago seems to be the birthplace of the defund the police movement. It's the same people. It's the same anti-law and order, anti-police agitation that we saw back back then. We're seeing again right now, except this time they're insisting on much bigger stakes. They are insisting on open borders. They're insisting that illegal aliens in this country, even criminal illegal aliens, be allowed to stay in our country. They're making ridiculous demands, and I don't see any Democrat voting to fund ICE and Border Patrol. That is how much this has become a tenet of the Democrat Party orthodoxy, that you must defund the police as it pertains to immigration enforcement.
And I think when you look at some of the chaotic events that have happened throughout the country, most of the incidents have happened in blue states where local authorities are actively telling their police forces to stand down and not help out with federal agents. And that's where all the chaos is coming from. In cities where they're cooperating, local officials and federal agents, we've seen hardly any clashes whatsoever.
Well, that is right, Nate, including here in Missouri, where we're in 2008, and we had the foresight to pass a prohibition on sanctuary cities. That was actually my bill. I was more ahead of the curve than I realized at the time. So we really haven't, even though we have left-wing lunatics in some of our municipalities in Missouri. Still, we don't see this, because in Missouri, a city that chose to be a sanctuary city could lose all of their state funding. That is the penalty under the bill I passed in 2008 and that Governor Matt Blunt signed into law. But most recently, of course, we have in Newark, New Jersey at Delaney Hall, we have days and days of protests, hundreds of demonstrators, and they've been violent. They've been assaulting police officers. They've been spitting on police officers, and they're organized. They have their own riot gear and their own gas masks. And as despicable as that is, and they're probably funded by various left-wing NGOs, funded by the usual suspects, George Soros and others. As despicable as that is, the Democrat office holders from the city hall all the way up to their members of Congress are encouraging this. They're calling the ones who have immediate control over those officers refuse to let them help federal law enforcement. And of course, some of my fellow members of Congress are calling them, thugs, Nazis, Gestapo, Hitler, etc. Just the Democrat Party stirs up this kind of violence and lawlessness, and it really is despicable. It really needs to stop.
You would think that after this issue was so critical, I think, to President Trump's victory in 2024 about securing the border, and to his credit, uh, I will say one of the things that he has clearly been able to clean up in a year plus is, the actual crossings at the border. I think it's
Really good.
now 12 months in a row, or maybe even longer than that, then there have been no one released into the interior, which is a phenomenal number. And I always think back to the line that he used months ago where it said, maybe we just needed a new president. Well, yeah, when you have
Yeah.
an active administration like Alejandro Mayorkas and people like that who openly dream of open borders, I mean, this was more than an invasion. This was an invited, chaotic, absolute takeover by third world, low IQ individuals. I'm sorry, that's what it was.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, the Democrats, led by Joe Biden, encouraged this mass immigration, mass migration, mass invasion. So on the one hand, it was an invasion. On the other hand, they were invited in by Joe Biden. And, now, for years we were told, remember the Biden amnesty bill? We were told, well, the only way to secure the border is to pass this amnesty bill. And if you give us amnesty, then we'll secure the border. Well, I'm sorry, we fell for that back during the Reagan administration. For heaven's sakes, it didn't work then. The left always wants, they want the amnesty, but they never give you the immigration enforcement. We didn't need new laws. We just needed a new president. And yes, essentially no one gets released. As you mentioned, border crossings gotaways are down 97%. The border is secure. And just as important, and estimates of the numbers vary, but it's estimated that close to 1 million people have self-deported, because the mother of all magnets to illegal immigration is the idea that one might get amnesty someday and just be allowed to stay. And a lot of illegal aliens have done their calculation and said, you know what, maybe I do want to go home, for some family event, and maybe I'll just stay home. And that's a good thing.
We're chatting with Congressman Bob Onder, Missouri's 3rd Congressional District. Before we get to a big bill that just passed out of committee in transportation, I did just want to ask one thing. I mean, long term, it's not great to be using the strategy of reconciliation to just pass simple appropriations. Like, there's way too much that you could use in a reconciliation bill that should go far beyond just funding ICE and CBP. It seems like a big waste.
Completely agree. I completely agree. And Nate, yeah, it is when we did reconciliation last summer, the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut Act, we went big, and we did a lot of very big things. We prevented a $5 trillion tax increase. We made the Trump tax cuts from 2017 permanent. We cut tax on overtime and tips. We created the first federal education choice bill in the country. We secured the borders. We funded ICE and Border Patrol. We opened up domestic energy production, and we ended a lot of the Green New Deal scams. Oh, and we've defunded Planned Parenthood for a year. That's what a reconciliation bill should look like. The idea that there's a chunk of the budget that the Democrats don't want to fund. So, okay, we won't do it. We won't fund the budget in that part of the budget in a regular budget bill. We'll pass a separate reconciliation bill. My sentiments exactly. It's a waste. I wasn't part of the decision to do it that way. But so it drags on, and it's been dragging on for months. The open borders Democrats were never going to help us fund ICE and Border Patrol as a standalone measure, but they probably would have eventually given in as part of a Homeland Security funding bill. And I think it could have been done better.
Yeah, well, count it on the growing list of things that the Senate botched. So I'll say it loud,
Yeah.
loud. They
Yeah,
handcuffed
yeah.
y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, Save America, this, it just
Yeah.
goes on. Yeah, the list goes on and on. And, in fact, we hear a lot I hear a lot from my constituents. I want to see you guys pass more of the president's executive orders. Put more of his executive orders into law permanently, because otherwise we are within the next Democrat president will just undo everything president did by executive order with another executive order. Well, in the One Big Beautiful Bill last summer, we codified 28 Trump executive orders. The U.S. House of Representatives in all has codified another 70 Trump executive orders. Unfortunately, most of those House-passed bills just won't go over to the Senate to die because there's not the political will to get them done. It really is a disgrace sometimes.
Totally embarrassing. Before we let you go, Dr. Onder, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about the reauthorization bill that just passed out of the Transportation Committee. Your colleague, Sam Graves, who is the chairman of the committee, this was a massive undertaking. It always is. But I do think one of the unique things about being on that particular committee is that transportation, it should be bipartisan. Now, a lot of what you guys on the Republican side are forced to do is just cut regulations. I mean, the Democrats will strangle you in red tape with all of their garbage. And you guys were able to do a lot with just reducing those regulations and making it just a simpler process for all sorts of industry.
Well, yeah, that's right, Nate. We called this bill the Build America 250 Act. It is the surface or highway reauthorization bill that has to be renewed every 5 years. It invests in America's roads and bridges and highway safety programs. This is a rare example of Congress doing, or at least our committee doing things on time. It didn't have to be reauthorized until September 30th. We already got it out of committee in mid-May. But yes, lots of permitting reform, deregulation, rolling back Green New Deal programs in the Biden infrastructure bill called the IIJA. We did it. I usually do not like new fees or taxes, but there's a new fee on electric vehicles, which I think is appropriate. EVs use our roads, and of course they don't pay the gas tax. That is the way we usually pay for our highways. So I think that was a good provision. Two provisions really important to Missouri. Chairman Graves, and I agree, wanted more money to go through so-called formula funding, where essentially the money just goes to the states, sort of like a block grant, to do projects rather than federal bureaucrats controlling project by project what gets built. And there was a big emphasis on bridges, and as many of your listeners know, Missouri has more bridges than any other state of the union. So I think this was a good bill for the country. It was a move in the right direction in terms of less regulation, less red tape, and it's a good bill for Missouri as well.
Dr. Bob Onder, you are, without question, one of the best members and still just a freshman, but a very good friend of my boss, Eric Burleson, and a proud Missouri native. So great to have you on News Talk STL with us as you join them every Friday.
Well, thank you so much, Nate. It's an honor to serve with your boss, and of course an honor to represent the great people of Missouri. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You do the same. That is Dr. Bob Onder, congressman from Missouri's 3rd District. And I'm not even just like blowing smoke. I don't really do that, actually. People who listen to this program probably know I have no hesitation when it comes to rip a member, even if they're a member of the Republican Party. There is a guy who is vying for one of the seats. In fact, the 6th congressional district, occupied currently by the retiring Sam Graves. His name is Chris Stigall, and he will join the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show next on News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy and mild and still a chance for a couple showers into the evening hours. Overnight low of 68 degrees, then a high of 82 Saturday. While we have a lot of dry time, there is a 20% chance for an isolated thunder shower. And on Sunday, similar. Lots of dry time, but a 20% chance for a shower or storm and a high of 83 for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
These storms have done a number, I know, on all of our yards and trees and bushes. I mean, the rain's great, but the storms can sometimes wreak havoc. Are you worried about some of your most prized assets, your trees? Well, then call Hanson's Tree Service. Look them up online. The number that you can reach them at 24/7, emergency or during business hours, same number, is at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com. Tim Jones here to tell you all about how awesome Hanson's is. Chad Hanson has a fantastic locally owned, family owned, independently owned business here. They've got organic mulch. This is a perfect time to spruce up, fortify, and beautify your landscape beds. Tree care. You know, we had that big cicada invasion, a year or two ago. I've got a tree that, man, I hope we can save it. If anybody can, Hanson's can. I got to get them out to the house to check it out. Last year, had a tree that we had to take down, unfortunately, but cleaned it all up. It was like it was never there. And we planted some other stuff in its place. Hanson's can help you at the lake of the Ozarks. Yep, they can help you in that entire region down there for your lake lot. And, of course, all over the St. Charles, St. Louis metro area and beyond. Grinding and land clearing, green waste recycling, residential tree services, tree and stump removal, pruning, and so much more. Call the folks with the big boy and big girl toys at Hanson's Tree Service. That's hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddy's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stigall. Contact your Stigall financial advisor at Stigall.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
All right, 4:48 here on a Friday. Nate Lucas filling in for Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Joey V will have his movie review coming up in hour number 2 of Backrooms, which I'm telling you, I don't know. We're going to have to get to the bottom of that. We will get an opportunity right now, though, to chat with Chris Stigall. He is running for Missouri's 6th Congressional District. Chris is a former syndicated radio host, and now you can check it out, Stigall. That's Stigall for Congress.com. He has my vote, and this is actually kind of funny because the last time that I interviewed somebody on News Talk STL who was a candidate for House of Representatives, let's just say it backfired a little bit. But I'll leave you to ask my good friend David Brown about that, Mr. Stigall. How are you on this Friday? Welcome.
Well, that's quite a lead-in. I feel like I should just hang up now while the getting's good.
It was more of a me problem than it was the candidate. So,
no, I'm all kinds of confused. You're filling in. Tim and Chris are gone. I was hosting a show, and now I'm running. Everything's bananas. How are you, Nate?
I'm doing well. I have to ask. I mean, it's fascinating because I've worked in radio. I now work in politics. I'm lucky I kind of get to do both from time to time. You have spent a long career in radio, and now you are entering the world of politics, but you've obviously been in the arena for a long time. So, what ultimately drove your decision to take on this challenge?
You know as well as anybody that when you spend the kind of time that we've been able to spend with people listening to News Talk STL and radio stations like KCMO in Kansas City, and I was blessed enough to have a nationally syndicated audience for a time. When you take the kind of incoming that we do from people in our respective towns and all across the country and their unique perspectives, they're living the news that we talk about and opine about every single day. So you really learn at its core in the marrow of where people are, where voters are, particularly as conservatives, what they're feeling. You get a good sense of where the electorate is. And then you start talking to politicians on a regular basis. And sometimes they gel and things go well, and sometimes your BS meter goes off right away. And over the years, I've honed both pretty well. I've honed the ability to learn what I think our base core conservative constituency wants, and then whether politicians are serving well or not. And this was an opportunity for me, my home base of North Missouri. This was an opportunity now that Sam Graves is retiring for me to step up and apply all that we've learned over 25 years in communicating with our audience and studying the issues of the day, interviewing so many of these people, past and present, who occupy office. I feel well equipped to go to Washington and communicate the issues, do battle if I must. I'm not starstruck. Cable news, blow-dried hairdo types don't impress me. Politicians don't impress me. I'm going to represent North Missouri, and that's what I intend to do with everyone's support on August 4th.
So you're out there, you're on the campaign trail. It's a pretty large district in terms of just its sheer cover. So I'm curious, what are people talking about? What do they want to see? What are they happy about? What are they not happy about? And I think a lot of times we forget the old analogy that it's always going to come back to the economy, which right now is in a bit of a tough spot with gas prices and inflation still hitting Americans pretty hard.
It is, and there's no getting around it. And farmers probably feel it maybe worse than anybody. So much of this entire district, the 33 counties that we cover in North Missouri, our number one economy is ag. And, guys that are spending, upwards of nearly $1 million on a combine, and then they've got the technology inside the thing that only one particular company that manufactures that combine can work on, and they're forced to spend inordinate sums of money to get that combine worked on. And then you've got the input costs of fertilizer and the gasoline to power those things. It's just an outrageous sum of money to farm. And our farmers are concerned about that. But you know what is really refreshing, Nate, is you'll find with most farmers when you talk to them, they also know that for the better part of decades, former presidents have allowed our economy to be hijacked, and our trade partners have taken terrible advantage of us. Our farmers have just gotten the short end of the stick for decades, and the trade imbalance has been mighty. President Trump is the first guy to square up his shoulders and take on China, take on Canada, and say, no, this has got to be a level playing field for our farmers. And so both in fuel costs, input costs, and then just in sales, our farmers understand that President Trump is doing something generationally different in trying to reorganize and restructure the way we farm in this country. So there's a patience there that I really respect and admire, because the work is hard and it's never been more expensive. But I think most of them understand what he's attempting to do. This is a generational shift we're living through. I think the pain is temporary and somewhat necessary, but I think we're going to come out on the other side of it as a better country.
You have vowed, we're chatting with Chris Stigall. You can check out more at StigallForCongress.com, STIGALL for Congress.com. He is running for Missouri's 6th congressional seat that is currently occupied by Sam Graves. He is retiring. He is, of course, the chairman of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. So the state is losing kind of a key voice. You have vowed, should you get elected, that you will seek a seat on the Ag Committee, which is critical, especially for the district that you would represent. Why is that such a passion of yours?
Well, as I say, when you're talking about really the entirety of North Missouri, there isn't a county that's not touched by ag, and it is our number one economic driver, certainly in North Missouri. And Missouri at present, it's not a knock on any of the members. It's just kind of the function of the way things are right now. There's not a single Missouri representative on that committee. So I think that needs to change. And, farmers want to know that they have a seat at the table in North Missouri. And so being that Sam is such a voice in the agriculture community, and I've been told by so many people that, what he's managed to do on behalf of farmers is so important, and they don't want to lose that. And I don't want them to lose that. So I intend to stay close and engaged on all of these issues. Another big one, you asked me what people are talking about out there, the data center discussion. It's a huge one because, as we know, folks that are wanting to build these data centers are heading into rural communities to build them. Healthy debate about it. And I appreciate the debate, and I understand the misgivings that people have. And quite frankly, there's been a lot of it that's just been done in secret. There's a lack of transparency. Our farm families and people that live in rural communities because they choose it and they love it, they're worried about this encroachment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but there needs to be more open communication. And that's another thing that I think I'm skilled at doing is I hope I can facilitate this and talk to big tech and say, look, guys, if this is as good as you say it's going to be for a community, then bring everyone in and let's all sit down and be transparent and have discussions about it. Again, farmers, farm families, rural communities, they're not closed-minded. They just want to be respected and heard first. And that's what I intend to try to facilitate.
Well, you've got my vote because you hired the man who showed me the ropes of Washington, D.C., and David Brown. So that's all you had to do to get my vote. But I know you're a good man, and you're genuine, and I sincerely wish you the best and look forward to seeing how your campaign unfolds over the next few months and ultimately winning a seat for the state of Missouri.
Well, Nate, if things don't work out because of this interview, I'm calling Tim and Chris and insisting that I'm the fill-in in the future. So you're going to be out of a fill-in job. I just want you to know that.
Oh, shoot. Well, my boss will probably be happy about that because every time I go on the radio, he's sitting on the edge of his seat like, oh, no, what's he going to say next? So
I appreciate you having me, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you again soon, and best of luck on the campaign trail. Thank you for joining.
God bless, Nate. Thank you.
All right, that is Chris Stigall. You can find out more at StigallForCongress.com. Wow, how fast radio moves on a Friday in a relatively slow week. Not slow when you got Dr. Bob and Chris Stigall. We'll be right back with hour number 2.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stigall. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stigall financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Democracy is loud, and on Tuesday, June 2nd, you can be right in the middle of it. News Talk STL is bringing the St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate to Lindenwood University in St. Charles at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts. No reservations, no tickets, just show up. Can't make it in person? Catch every word live on News Talk STL from 7 to 8:30 p.m. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate on June 2nd. Brought to you by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, Mid-Rivers News Magazine, Lewis and Clark's Pachyderms Club, and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019 94.1.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. President Trump held a White House Situation Room meeting with his advisors as he looks to make a final determination on moving forward with the deal to extend the Iran ceasefire. Speaking to reporters Thursday night, Vice President J.D. Vance said special needs still need to be worked out as U.S. and Iranian negotiators work to reach an agreement to end the war.
There are a lot of details to work out, but what I mean is I think we're making progress. We're getting to a point where we could potentially sit down and settle these issues, but that requires us to make a little bit more progress. I can't guarantee that we're going to get there, but right now I feel pretty good about it.
Iran says the agreement has not been finalized either. 5 people dead, several others injured in a work zone crash along a busy interstate south of Washington, D.C.
State police say a bus slammed into a half-dozen vehicles that were slowing for the southbound work zone along Interstate 95 in northern Virginia early Friday morning. All of the victims were in vehicles hit by the bus. 34 people were sent to the hospital.
That's correspondent Rich Thomason. Louisiana Republicans passing on a new gerrymander on Friday that will eliminate one of the state's 2 Democratic majority black House districts ahead of the midterms. We have correspondent Laura Witters.
This is considered a major win for Louisiana Governor Republican Jeff Landry and for President Trump, who is looking to keep the Republican majority in the House and Senate this fall. Now, the district of Democrat Congressman Cleo Fields has been completely erased in this new map configuration. Democrat Congressman Troy Carter's blue-leaning district has been redrawn to mostly mirror the seat he won back in 2022.
In health news, cigarette smoking rate among U.S. adults dropped to another all-time low last year. The CDC says only about 1 in 11 adults were current smokers. More on these stories from townhall.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy and mild and still a chance for a couple showers into the evening hours. Overnight low of 68 degrees, then a high of 82 Saturday. While we have a lot of dry time, there is a 20% chance for an isolated thunder shower. And on Sunday, similar. Lots of dry time, but a 20% chance for a shower or storm and a high of 83 for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stigall, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Something big is happening in St. Louis County, and you're invited.
Join us for the grand reopening of the St. Louis County Central Committee's brand new headquarters, and it's an open house you don't want to miss.
Stop by Wednesday, June 3rd at 794 Gravois Bluffs for light appetizers, beverage, and a chance to meet your Central Committee members. Plus, Chris and I will be there live.
Join Tim and me and tour the new headquarters. That's Wednesday, June 3rd, 794 Gravois Bluffs.
Back is up. He leaps and makes a fantastic catch.
Calling all bobblehead enthusiasts. Saturday, June 6th, as the Cardinals take on the Cincinnati Reds, fans can score a Jim Edmonds bobblehead presented by Ford. This collectible captures his unforgettable home run robbing grab at the wall, a play that still gives Cardinals fans chills. Add a defensive icon to your shelf and relive a moment that defined an era. Don't miss this one. Get tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
Future Gold Glovers, this one's for you. Sunday, June 7th, the Cardinals welcome the Cincinnati Reds to Busch Stadium. And that day, kids receive a City Connect Rawlings glove presented by Rawlings. Built for playing catch all summer long, it's ready for backyard games, trips to the park, and every I got it moment. A day at the ballpark that keeps the season going. Get tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone. Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
All right, hour number 2, rocking and rolling on a Friday. I am Nate Lucas filling in for Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Joey V riding shotgun back in the St. Louis studios. I am broadcasting live from, well, I guess you would call it my living room, even though here in D.C., your living room and your kitchen and your laundry room are all kind of like one room. I'm lucky enough that I actually have a bedroom. Most people live in a studio. I need a little more room than that. But we are doing the show from the nation's capital. It's beautiful here. I understand it's beautiful back in St. Louis. We're trying to get a hold of Kevin Slayton. If we can't, no big deal. We can pivot. But one of the things, Joey, that I was going to talk to him about was at a Trump rally. I believe it was maybe over the weekend. It may have been earlier this week. I'm not 100% sure when it was. But the New York Giants quarterback, Jackson Dart, who was drafted just last year and had a pretty strong rookie campaign with the New York Football Giants. Well, he had the gall, the confidence to go to this campaign rally where he was asked to introduce the 45th and 47th president of the United States. Now, I understand that in 2026, of course, any kind of public support for Donald Trump, who is the sitting president of the United States, that will bring all sorts of bullets coming your way. Now you're going to have to ask, what do your teammates think of this? You're the face of a National Football League franchise in New York, of all places. And you have the quarterback from Ole Miss. You think you can just go out onto a stage at a campaign rally and introduce the president? Now, who do you think you are? Now, of course, let's just play devil's advocate. If the president, let's say, was Joe Biden or Barack Obama, do you think that this would create the stir that it has, especially in the sports media, which Clay Travis, who runs Outkick, you frequently can watch him on Fox News. He's one of the only voices that blends sports, that has a conservative lens. But he wrote a book several years ago, and he found data that concluded that like 97% of all sports writers in America donated to Hillary Clinton's campaign back in 2015. So, and having worked in sports media, it is just a cesspool of leftism draped in sports. And that's why, of course, when everything was going down with the George Floyd stuff and you had teams that were, taking a knee and basically promoting BLM, you still have the NFL in their end zone, in the back of their helmets. They have end racism on the slogans. You've got the NBA that continues to be the NBA and promote BLM activism. And of course, that's fine. That's fine and dandy because you're promoting a cause that is part of the Democratic initiative, which is promote BLM. But if you are, and I don't even know what Jackson Dart's politics are, and who cares? He was asked clearly to introduce the President of the United States at a campaign rally in New York, and he did so. And you would think that this guy just committed a crime. In fact, we're getting breaking news that Judge Boasberg is now put in a nationwide injunction that Jackson Dart will be ineligible for the 2026 NFL season coming up. So that's a shame. Judge Boasberg imparting his wisdom once again. But this has become a story in the national media on the sports world. And I get it. Things are a little slow right now in the sports world. You're looking for some drama. You're looking for this or that. But this is solely baked in because you've got a sports media that is just hell-bent liberal. And you've got the New York liberal media in particular, which makes it even worse. But now he's got this division that that they're saying he created. So today at Giants training camp or whatever, practice, he was forced to come out and give an opening statement that was like 5 minutes long, and I'll spare it for you. One of the things I've learned about working in radio and making comments that maybe you shouldn't have is the first thing you do is you don't run to the microphone and start apologizing. Because guess what? You don't have to. You don't have to bend the knee to these leftists. And unfortunately, Jackson Dart was probably forced by the organization to come out and save public face. So I just want to play. This is like a short clip where Jackson Dart is explaining his sorrow for introducing the president at a campaign rally.
I've always loved this country. I have extended family members who have fought in wars. I have two uncles who have retired from the Air Force Academy and served themselves. And I even have a great-grandfather who served as Secretary of Treasury at some point.
Okay, so there you go. He's got extended family members who have fought in wars. I have two uncles who retired from the Air Force Academy. I have a great-grandfather who served as Secretary of Treasury. So a pretty decent political bloodline there. Well, let's now play his teammate. This is Abdul Carter, who threw a fit following Jackson Dart's appearance at the podium. He came up and had this to say.
If he chooses to align himself with a man like President Trump, it's my responsibility, based on what I believe and what I stand on, to not only show my teammates that I'm against that, but to show the world. And that doesn't mean that we have to spread hate. It doesn't mean that me and Jackson hate each other or we have beef. I sit next to Jackson every day, every team meeting. We close, we talk. We just, as long as we make sure we got the same goal as a team and our goals align, which they do, and I feel like that's all that matters. So I just want to move past this and
You think we all want to move past this? You're the one that's bringing it up because you got triggered by your quarterback going to a campaign rally where he was invited to introduce the president. I mean, these people are such snowflakes. It's absolutely incredible that in 2026, I thought woke culture, I thought we put it in the ground, we buried it, and it died. No, it didn't. Apparently, at least with the New York Football Giants. Joey, do we have the King on the line with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. It's Kevin Slayton, KevinSlaytonShow.com. It's an honor to bring you on here on the airwaves at News Talk STL. This is the dumbest story I think I could possibly draw up, but save it for the liberal sports media to freak out that Jackson Dart had the gall to introduce the president of the United States at a campaign rally.
Nate, it's unbelievable. I'm thankful to be on with you guys, by the way. But you listen to what his word. Listen to Abdul Carter's words. It's his responsibility to inform the world. Who does he think he is? You're a freaking linebacker or defensive end, pass rusher, whatever you call yourself, for the New York Giants. That's all you are, dude. You don't have a responsibility to inform the world of anything. You're an idiot. So let's start with your IQ. It's probably single digits. Penn State did not graduate him. He couldn't even graduate from Penn State. He's a moron. But secondarily, here's the key. Josh Jacobs just got accused and charged with crap out of his girlfriend. One of the most heinous charges I've ever seen in NFL beatings of women. And no one talks about that. Instead, they want to talk about Jackson Dart. Excuse me? Do you think, Nate, for 1 second, the NFL will stencil into their end zones next year end women beating?
No, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that they will do that. And on the heels of Josh Jacobs, you also had, this was a couple of weeks ago, but Rashee Rice, the wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs, he violated his deal. He got busted with
his probation.
His probation. He should have probably been in jail for a lot longer for the chaos that he started by driving 100+ miles an hour on a busy Texas freeway and caused a huge crash and then walked away from the scene and got a sweetheart deal and then just violated his probation by testing positive for marijuana. And so you have like actual criminal behavior going on in your league, and yet the biggest story in the game right now in the NFL and maybe in the sports world is that Jackson Dart introduced the president at a campaign rally. I mean, it's amazing. I really did think that we were past this stuff, but it goes to show you that sleeping giants, they don't die easy. It's going to take a lot more than just a handful of years to get past this woke nonsense.
It really is going to take more than a handful of years. And, you know, you point out some good points. Look, if we look at Jackson Dart, who's a model citizen, we look at Abdul Carter, who's had problems when he was at Penn State, who never graduated from Penn State, and this guy thinks he's the voice of America, a voice of the world. I can't think of a worse example than Abdul Carter. But in terms of the media coverage, it's laughable. 24/7 on Jackson Dart, 0 on Josh Jacobs. So I'll go back to my question. Do you think the NFL will ever stencil into the end zone and women beating? The answer is, of course, no, because the NFL doesn't give a damn about women who get the shit beat out of them, excuse my language, but they care only about someone who introduces the President of the United States. The NFL is the biggest fraud league that ever existed. Other leagues just don't care. The NFL is a fraud league, and the biggest culprit is Roger Goodell. He should step forward like he did. Oh, Black Lives Matter after George Floyd. Here was Roger Goodell. The world's going to end because these poor black thugs are getting beaten up. When are you going to step forward and have the courage to say, Josh Jacobs is a woman beater? We condemn woman beating in this league. But they don't condemn it. They're okay with it, and they're okay with it by their behavior. They will not condemn it. They'll accept it if the guy's good, and Josh Jacobs is good, so the hell with that.
It's amazing. I don't know what what other lesson these sports leagues could learn from the pothole that they stepped in, you know, during COVID and the George Floyd stuff and the BLM movement, when ticket sales dropped, attendance dropped, viewership dropped, and it was all because they didn't want woke nonsense pushed in their face. And clearly they haven't learned a damn thing based on their coverage of literally a nothing burger of a quarterback simply introducing the president on a campaign rally stage. It's just shocking.
Nate, you're absolutely right. It's a nothing story. It should have never been a story. Jackson Dart decides that he'll say what he thinks. When did saying what you think or stepping forward and saying, I endorse the President of the United States, when in the history of this country did endorsing the President of the United States at a rally become a bad thing? only because the woke liberal society that we live in and these psychopathic liberal freaks who make up less than half of the country, by the way, have decided that they will destroy every human being who deviates from them and supports the president. It's a sickness. It's a mental illness. Anyone who thinks Trump derangement syndrome is not a legitimate mental illness is mentally ill themselves.
And I think it's kind of a microcosm of what separates a liberal mind from a conservative thinker, and that is if Abdul Carter walked onto the stage and introduced any jackwagon liberal politician, I wouldn't even think twice about it. It wouldn't bother me. It doesn't impact my life at all. So who cares? I ask you, if I were a fan of the Giants, what I need Carter to do is rack up like 15 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. That's what I'm looking for from Abdul Carter. I do not care about what his political motives are or instincts or anything along those lines. Whereas a liberal mind gets triggered the moment that they hear that their teammate could, oh my goodness, be perhaps a conservative, and if it's even worse, to be a Trump supporter. And that really does kind of fine-tune the difference between how liberals want to cancel you because of the way you think, and yet conservatives don't really give a damn what you think. You can kind of choose your own path, even if I think it's the wrong one. I'm not going to stand in your way. Just don't impede me.
Think about it. Liberals cannot exist if they can't destroy somebody. That's their entire motive for living. If they can't destroy someone, they can't exist. So a kid comes along and says, Mr. President, I'm anxious to introduce you, and the liberals freak out. Imagine the problems we have in this country, and that's their big deal. Their big deal is Jackson Dart, a young kid, conservative kid, I'm sure, introduces. He didn't say Donald Trump is God. He didn't say Donald Trump is the be-all, end-all. He said, I'm introducing the President of the United States. How many times has that happened in our history? And no one said boo. Only liberal psychopaths decide that this is an issue, and it tells you what they are. If they can't destroy you, they don't exist. And that's the problem. Liberalism in this country needs to be eradicated. It needs to be erased. And until it does, we will suffer in this country. We will never reach the potential we could reach. It will never be right. And I'm a big fan of secession. Red states should secede from the Union, form their own country, call it the United States of America, let the blue states deal with it, and they'll come crying to us in 2 months and we'll say, I'm going to kick you in the balls. Screw you.
Well, Kathy Hochul in New York tried that. She said, we don't need you Republicans. Leave the state. And guess what? They all fled, and now she's complaining because she doesn't have the taxpayer money to fund all her blue pet projects. And so the city's broke, and she's calling for them to all return. So, these people are maniacs.
Let me make a prediction. I'm going to say it because it's gotten close. Spencer Pratt will win the election in Los Angeles. He will be the next mayor of Los Angeles. It's not within the margin of error on the polls. You know from knowing me, I don't pay any attention to polls. But in this particular case, because I know that all polls skew liberal. That's a fact. It's not my opinion. It's a fact. So if all polls skew liberal, Spencer Pratt is within the margin of error in Los Angeles. It means he's 6 points ahead.
Yeah, and they also will put those polls out in a way to deter potential voters if they get discouraged by seeing the numbers and they'll think, oh, well, we can't make it. But if it's within the margin of error, that would incentivize me, if I lived in Los Angeles, to get off my ass and go vote, because that place is turning into a third world country, as the entire state of California is, sadly, which is such a shame because it's truly a beautiful state. But under the leadership of the radical left, it has just gone to hell. So yes, I'm rooting for Spencer Pratt to pull that off, and we'll see if he can get that done here. It's coming up quickly, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you see what he said the other day? They said someone asked him about his political idols, people that he admired in politics. And he said, I don't have any. He said, I hate every one of them. He said, that's why I'm running, because I hate politicians. I mean, I love this guy. He is the best thing that could come along for California. And I truly believe he's going to win. Now, think about this, Nate. When I say I truly believe he's going to win in Los Angeles, where 85% of the registered voters are Democrat. I mean, this guy is climbing the mountain that has never been climbed. He is within the margin of error, and we're talking about a guy who would orchestrate the greatest upset probably in election history, even surpassing President Trump's 2 elections. Or should I say 3?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. I mean, and this is such a critical race to watch in particular because it'll showcase perhaps that even the left will have enough of what has transpired in California, and they've gotten apparently a pretty high threshold for enduring taxes and everything that has gone wrong, particularly in Los Angeles, and a mayor who. And Karen Bass, who's just non-existent. I mean, she was in Africa or wherever when the Palisades fire began, and then she had no idea how to clean it up or the mess that she created. So not only are they're just incompetent and they don't care, and out there perhaps it'll be a glimpse of these elites that have even had enough of their own party, and I think that would be refreshing for the entire country to witness.
And I know that we started the conversation with Jackson Dart. So let's do a little examination here. So Jackson Dart steps forward, endorses President Trump at a rally. Tom Brady was a Trump supporter. And when media discovered in his locker that he had a MAGA hat, all of a sudden Tom Brady decided to be a coward. And I by the way, I love Tom Brady. But he decided he'd be a coward when it came to politics. Jackson Dart is not a coward. Jackson Dart stood up, said what he said. By the way, his offense is he endorsed the president. Not endorsed. He introduced the president at a rally. That's his sin. What kind of a country do we live in? Tom Brady was a coward. He backed away from the president when he supported him, but he backed away in public. Jackson Dart says, you know what? I'm introducing the president. I didn't say anything about anything else. I'm introducing him. And this is the country we live in. We are in deep, deep doo-doo, Nate, because if we cannot accept that, if we cannot, you said it earlier in this conversation, if it was reversed, you couldn't care less that some athlete had introduced, I don't know, Biden or anybody else. None of us would care. None of those of us who are conservatives would give a damn who someone introduced. We just wouldn't care. It would never be a headline. It's only a headline because Jackson Dart introduced Donald Trump.
Totally crazy, upside down world, 2 + 2 = 5 kind of stuff. Kevin Slayton, KevinSlaytonShow.com, the king of St. Louis airwaves for, gosh, how many decades? It's always a privilege to.
Too many.
No, never too many. Never too many. It is always a pleasure to share the airwaves with you.
Hey, Nate, thank you so much. You're doing a great job there in Washington. People like you, and I mean this with my heart, people like you will help keep this country sane.
God willing. It's going to take a lot more than me, but I appreciate the compliment. King, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your Friday and enjoy your weekend.
All right, Nate, you too, buddy.
All right, there is Kevin Slayton, KevinSlaytonShow.com. He does politics show in the morning and then a sports show in the afternoon, and you can frequently hear me join him on Mondays on that program. So we still shoot it around quite a bit. So there you have it. Jackson Dart canceled by New York because he introduced the president at a campaign rally. Totally crazy. All right, we'll come back. I'll tell you a little information about how the Democrats think they're going to be able to carve out Iowa. Stay with us. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy and mild and still a chance for a couple showers into the evening hours. Overnight low of 68 degrees, then a high of 82 Saturday. While we have a lot of dry time, there is a 20% chance for an isolated thunder shower. And on Sunday, similar. A lot to dry time, but a 20% chance for shower or storm and a high of 83 for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Well, it just keeps raining, doesn't it? Tim Jones here to tell you that if you're worried about your roof, have no fear. Correll Roofing Company is here. They're at CorrellRoofingCo.com on the internets. That's CORRELL, two R's, two L's, CorrellRoofingCo.com. Our new favorite roofing company here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Curtis Correll, over 20 years of experience. Let me tell you about this company. They are fantastic. Why? Well, three major items, and then there's a lots more after that. They're locally owned. They're independently owned. They're family owned. They're wonderful people. They've got so much experience, and they know exactly what they are doing and then some. I wouldn't have some fly-by-night company hopping up on my roof. I would only have Correll Roofing Company up there. CorrellRoofingCo.com. They're going to advocate for you from start to finish. They are going to be with you for the entire process, working with your insurance company to make sure they get your roof back to where it needs to be. One of the most important aspects of your homestead is your roof. Only put the experts up on there at Correll Roofing Company. CorrellRoofingCo.com. That's CorrellRoofingCo.com. Your one-stop roofing shop.
Mother's Day 250000615. Hey Dad, what causes drains to clog?
Grease, hair, soap scum, and tree roots.
Tree roots?
This town has old pipes and big trees. They find each other.
They grow inside pipes?
They bust into pipes.
Whoa.
Once they're in, the water stops flowing.
Can we fix it?
The big green grasser machine can fix any clog.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson. Mario's Donut Restaurant, that's your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches, omelets, delicious gyros, and Mexican dishes, to their revamped menu with cannolis, tiramisu, baklava, and danishes. And don't forget those famous donuts. Dine in or carry out, Mario's friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit, or just visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
All right, welcome back. It is 5:32 on this Friday. I'm Nate Lucas filling in for Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Joey, they'll be back Monday, right? I assume they'll be back in the saddle Monday?
Yes, they will.
Well, isn't that lovely? I hope I always usually kind of take a dig at the speaker, but I hope he's got his golf clubs wherever he's at and he's getting a nice round in before his official duties begin of whatever he's doing. But he and I share a similar passion for the game of golf, and yeah. So hopefully he's out enjoying the nice weather. All right, let's see here. This morning, so I was telling you in the opening segment that I read this newsletter that's kind of DC TMZ, but for my current job, it's helpful because it kind of gives you a little bit of insight information on what's going on behind the scenes with the Congress and what's coming up the next week. So, it's helpful in that sense. But I woke up to something today from Punchbowl that I just found to be fascinating, and it was essentially talking about how Iowa is in play. And I thought to myself, wow, that reminds me of a headline all the way back in 2024, right before the election, in which there was a poll, you might remember it, the Seltzer poll, that came in and essentially said that Kamala Harris was leading Donald Trump 47% to 44% among likely voters. And, that was on November 2nd, 2024. So this is just days before the election. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, wow, that's a little bizarre. Iowa? Is Iowa really going to vote for Kamala Harris? I mean, it could be a huge surprise, I suppose. Iowa had voted Republican in every single presidential election since 2000. The only election that they lost was 2008 when the country voted heavily for Obama against a very weak candidate in John McCain. Trump had won it pretty comfortably in 2016 by 9 points, and then again in 2020. He won it by 8 points, and so anyone who was sort of forecasting it was thinking, I mean, this is this is a conservative state. I mean, it's Iowa. Well, sure enough, the election happened a few days later, and the Seltzer poll was off by roughly 16 points, which is one of the final poll misses in modern polling history. So leave it to the Seltzer poll to get it this wrong, but Trump carried the state by 13.2 points. He won 55.7%, and it was the best performance in Iowa ever for Trump, and the widest margin of victory for any candidate going back to 1972. So I wake up this morning and I'm drinking my coffee. I'm reading through the Punch Bowl newsletter, and the headline is "Why Iowa Dems Are Excited About 2026." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. The Democrats are gung-ho about winning the Hawkeye state. Again, a state that Donald Trump carried by 13 points just however many months ago in November of 2024. But Democrats, they write, insist their ambitious plans this year are possible thanks to a massive voter backlash against Trump's policies. Now, this is the only element that I will give them. And I'm going to dig into this a little bit more, but they write, a cost of living crisis is wreaking havoc on Iowa's rural counties and agriculture economy. Democrats believe that gives them a huge opening. And Democratic state rep is quoted as saying, we're a common sense state that's masqueraded as a red state. The margins are quite small. So Turek is running for Senate, and he said this at a Sioux City event on Thursday. The amazing opportunity that we have here in Iowa is if we can duplicate what we did in Trump's first midterm, we can flip Congress. Well, I mean, that's not like unprecedented. In fact, you have to go back quite a ways to find the last time that you had a supermajority and then you held that supermajority through the first midterm. It just, the country, for whatever reason, it flips. And that's just what happens. So they are suggesting that there are a couple of congressional seats that are toss-ups, the 1st and 3rd districts. One is by Representative Marionette Miller Meeks and also Zach Nunn. Now, I hate to break it to you, but this is kind of funny. There's also a quote in here that it is there's a quote in here. Here we go. From Democrat Christina Bohannon, who is running for Miller Meeks' seat in the 1st district. She goes, I hardly ever use the words Democrat or Republican when I'm talking to people. People really are so sick of the extremes and the party politics. Okay, well, that's fine. Way to tell us what you stand for, or really anything that the Democrat Party stands for. We just know that they're anti-Trump, and I'm not going to sit here and glaze the president. There are plenty of things that I think should be alarm bells going off for Republicans, and many of them have to do directly from what the administration is doing. Hello, Iran war. I think that is the dumbest thing that we could be possibly doing right now, and it's only driven up the cost of living at a time where healthcare costs are skyrocketing. You've got gasoline prices now averaging $4.40. You've got Trump's approval ratings in the tank. You've got Trump being quoted as saying he doesn't, take into account Americans' financial situation when he goes and drops bombs on Iran. I mean, you have a gazillion things that the administration is doing, and for that matter, not doing. I will remind folks that the Republican Party was actually at its highest approval ratings back in February of 2025. Now, you ask yourself, what was going on in February of 2025? Well, it was kind of a thing that I believe really moved the needle for some people who might not say, well, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, but man, I hate Washington, D.C. I hate giving them my taxpayer money. And what was that initiative? That was the Department of DOGE, delivering on government efficiency. which Elon Musk sort of spearheaded. Now, when that agency came in, did they do things a little reckless? Perhaps. They had a bunch of 20-something-year-olds going into every single government agency and just, kind of gutting it. But that was the time, February 2025, was the highest approval ratings that the entire Republican Party had. And since then, they've just sort of plummeted. And by plummeted, I mean plummeted. You can look at some reports that suggest that Trump's approval ratings are hovering just above 30%, which is like historically low percentage approval. So while I think that you've got a couple of things going on. One, Iowa's toss-up seats, Marionette Miller Meeks and Zach Nunn, if you think they're carrying the torch for like conservative priorities or policies in the U.S. House of Representatives, that's not true. While they might be fine and dandy people, they are definitely not like hardcore America First policymakers. And I don't care what they say on the campaign trail, just go look at their voting record. And by the way, if you vote like 95% of the time with leadership, you're probably not a true America First person. And one of the things that has really let me down about Trump in the last year, I would say, is that I find that he's listening to more people in the government that, if you go back to 2015, truly despised him as a candidate. And I will tell you, I'm a 3-time Trump voter. I was on board the moment he took that debate stage against the 17 other people in the Republican Party, and he just beat them over the head with a 2x4 and then some. I mean, those were some of the best television, moments that you could find. And now it's like he's cozying up to Lindsey Graham. Of course, this love affair with the Senate and John Thune, even though that the Senate has quietly kind of undermined his initiatives and they've slowed the process. Recess appointments are at an all-time low for President Trump. So there's like a lot of things going on in the Senate where that's what I sort of was talking about in the first segment, where you can see how this thing, the train is quickly derailing. And now that he's got some antagonists in the Senate, it could get worse for him. But I don't necessarily think, I'm not buying this idea, even in Texas, that James Tallarico could mount a strong campaign against Ken Paxton. And I really don't see Democrats flipping Iowa. I do think one of the problems that the Republican Party has is that they think name ID and being a Republican in Washington, D.C. is going to carry their water. That is no longer true. Just like what we heard from Chris Stigall in the first hour, who's running for a seat in Missouri 6th, people like outsiders. They want people who aren't attached to the swamp. Congress is not popular. D.C. is not popular. The taxpayer money is being wasted and abused, and I don't care what they talk about when they're on the camera. It's how they vote. And Republicans have not done enough, in my opinion, to respect the taxpayer. And now that you've got cost of living, skyrocketing and this whole ordeal with Iran, there's a great article today in the Wall Street Journal that I would recommend people read. And this is the reason why I think you're going to see incumbents lose, whether that's in a primary or whether that's getting beat by a Democrat. I think the alarm bells should be going off in the fact that in the first quarter of this year, the percentage of credit card balances that were at least 90 days delinquent, rose to over 13%. And that's according to the data that was released in May by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That's the highest level in 15 years and the most since the period following the 2008 financial crisis. So this article, I would recommend Dan Frosch in the Wall Street Journal. Americans are falling behind in their $1.25 trillion credit card bill. That would be the thing that if I'm a Republican and I'm trying to either hold office or run for office, this is it. This is it. People are putting way too many everyday commodities on their credit card. That should not be the case. That's insane. When you've got interest rates that have risen to roughly 21% in February, that's up from 14.5% from February of 2022. and you've got the credit card total balance at $1.25 trillion, which is the highest first quarter balance since the Fed began recording the measure in 1999. It's not a good sign when people who are even making upwards of six figures are putting significant amount of everyday commodities on their credit card because they can't keep up with rising costs, whether that's their mortgage, whether that's their health care, whether that's their car payment. Name the monthly stipend that you have to shell out of your paycheck. And oh yeah, on top of that, the administration isn't helping you at the gas pump or with inflation because we have to go fight in the Middle East again, even though the administration said they wouldn't do that. And that was one of the primary reasons why a lot of, at least people under the age of 50, voted for Donald Trump. So that is my little stump. I don't think they're going to lose Iowa. I do think some incumbents are going to get beat, and I think that's strictly on them because they're not strong candidates. If we had more Republicans who were principled and actually stuck to governing in a conservative manner and pushed conservative policy and actually stood on conviction, I think they would win handedly. The Democrats don't have anything. But you're only going to create apathy if you tell them all these great things you're going to do, Doge being one of them, and then you pull the rug out when your numbers are skyrocketing in popularity. That's a terrible strategy, but I guess that's the Republican Party for you. You can't fix it all in a day. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Joey's got his movie review, and you won't want to miss this one. It is, I don't know, hang on for dear life. Backrooms. We'll get the lowdown next right here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on News Talk STL.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Cloudy and mild and still a chance for a couple showers into the evening hours. Overnight low of 68 degrees, then a high of 82 Saturday. While we have a lot of dry time, there is a 20% chance for an isolated thunder shower. And on Sunday, similar. Lots of dry time, but a 20% chance for a shower or storm and a high of 83 for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug. On Lackland and Westport, or online at shortysdiners.com. Shorty's Diner. It's not fancy. It's not fat-free. It's just the way it used to be.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, your financial friend with Serenity Wealth Management, joining us this Sunday right here on News Talk STL for the Serenity Wealth Now Show. We've got my friend Joel Hauser. We're going to come in, spend some time talking about protection strategies to protect your income, to protect your assets, and more importantly, the lifestyle you deserve. So tune in right here Sunday morning, 9 a.m. for the Serenity Wealth Show, airing right here on News Talk STL or on your Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets. We'll see you then.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I found something in the store.
What did you find?
Pull me up, pull me up, pull me up!
What do you see?
All these rooms, this place builds them. It's like a maze. It just goes on and on. Sometimes I'm scared I'll get lost.
Clark, can you hear me?
It's beautiful.
That was the trailer for Backrooms. I'm producer Joey V. Filling in for Tim and Chris as guest host Nate Lucas. Nate, are you ready for my review?
I'm ready. Just don't scare me.
Joey, baby, what movie are you playing?
Brought to you by Harry J's Steakhouse in Moscow Mills.
Backrooms is about a strange doorway that appears in the basement of a furniture showroom. It's set in 1990, and this furniture store owner is dealing with the fallout of his divorce. He's seeing a therapist, he's living in the store, and he's growing frustrated with the power surges that keep making the lights and the appliances flicker at the store. And while messing with the fuse box one day, he sees a tiny crack in a wall and discovers a portal into an ominous world made up of confusing mazes that look like office spaces. I mean, it's yellow wallpaper, it's drop ceilings, buzzing fluorescent lights, wall-to-wall damp, dirty, off-white carpet. And the easiest way to describe it, it's kind of like The Shining for the YouTube generation. It seems like these normal people go into a normal building, and as the building gets weirder, the people get crazier, and then they lose their minds, they start killing things, and there's blood, and there's violence, and it's really cool visuals, and at the end of The Shining, you go, what the heck was that? I don't think I understand. And that's exactly what Backrooms is. It seems like there's more discussion about what happens off screen. Like there are people who are rotting their brain on the internet just trying to figure out what all of this means. And the Backrooms actually started on a message board called 4chan. Have you been on 4chan? It's a dark place, Nate.
I am aware of it, but I've not logged any time.
So a long time ago, let's put it in perspective. Like 2018, so a really long time ago, someone posted a picture of a furniture store and they thought it was creepy. And then someone else put a caption under it saying, what if there were monsters under it? And then this 16-year-old kid, Kane Parsons, he started making YouTube shorts and videos and web series about what this picture might mean. What are the Backrooms? And now he's 20 years old and he's been given $10 million, 2 Oscar-nominated actors, and he's been told to bring his vision to life. And he's about to become the youngest kid ever to have a #1 movie at the box office. I guarantee you this is going to be #1, mostly because there's nothing else coming out, but also because there is a fan base about the Backrooms that I had no idea about until after I saw this movie. Have you heard of the Backrooms, Nate?
Well, I have seen the trailer because it's been playing. I've been watching a lot of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they have been running ads for it. And every time I see it, I'm just kind of like, what is that? And then when you sent me the link to the trailer, I watched it earlier today, and it's just freaky. I mean, I don't know how. And at some point, it looks like somebody goes down a well, and they're going down seemingly endless flights of stories, and I don't know. I already have enough nightmares living in D.C.
I could be completely wrong about this. I'm going to guess what Backrooms is about right here, live on the air. It seems like our main characters are stuck in a loop of suffering where they experience the trauma of losing a loved one and they can't get over it. And then when they discover this portal, they end up in the Backrooms. That is the physical manifestation of this trauma loop. Or maybe it's really cheap to make a horror film in a furniture store. That's also my other theory. Now, Nate, we are a couple blocks down from the world famous Carroll House Furniture. Are you familiar with Carroll House?
We like nice things.
Of course. So I can picture Brooke and Amy Dubman, who have not aged over the past 30 years, in the twins outfit from The Shining, holding a big knife. And it says, we like sliced things. And that could sell a million tickets. I mean, we would make huge money making a horror film out of the Carroll House Furniture Store. And the furniture in Backrooms, since it's set in 1990, it's so ugly that's in there. So if you see anything up on screen that you have in your own house, that's just a sign to throw it away. If you still have that black, tall, like halogen lamp with the blue glass on it, you got to throw that out. It's been way too long. And our real estate friend, Jamie Allman, I don't think he does commercial real estate, but I know he would have a hell of a time selling this furniture store. It would never be able to pass inspection. I mean, they've got stairs on the ceiling. They've got Doors that are way too tiny, black mold. Nate, it's a serious problem. You can't be selling commercial real estate with black mold. It's impossible to get rid of. And the thing that this movie really reminded me of, you may be the same age as me. I'm 41. I grew up in the 80s. But when we were watching music videos all day, there were a few of them that just scared the crap out of us. And this movie, it really plays off of some of those. So do you remember Tom Petty, Don't Come Around Here No More, the Alice in Wonderland one?
Yeah.
They were just eating her alive. They would cut her up, they would eat her, and there was all this forced perspective and weird rooms. And then, of course, Genesis with the weird puppets, Land of Confusion. You remember that? Ronald Reagan's right there, and he's getting doused with water, and Nancy's in bed with him, and he has a nightmare. If you don't remember that one, you got to look up Land of Confusion. It is the most disturbing music video of all time. And it seems like this kid who was born in 2005 has somehow studied everything interesting about the 90s, like VHS, cassettes, the music video culture, and he's thrown it into this incredible movie where the ending, I don't understand, I don't get, and maybe that's the point, because now I've gone and I've learned about the lore, I've watched some of his videos, and I may even buy a ticket to go watch it again. That could be the trick. Just get people so confused that they end up going and they see the movie over and over again to try and figure out what the heck was going on. I was never bored. I just wish it was a little weirder and a little more violent. I give it 3 out of 5 toasted raviolis. That's the scale over here. I enjoy these movies. We use toasted ravs. But if you want to see an insane movie that is about divorce, that's like surreal, definitely check out this movie, Possession, with Sam Neill. He's the main dude from Jurassic Park. I highly recommend that. And Nate, thanks for letting me yell at you about a movie. That was a lot of fun.
Whoa, I got to ask one question. You're 41?
That's correct, 1985.
Okay, folks, if you're not watching on the stream, Joey, you have the gift of adolescence in your genes. You do not look 41 years old. I mean, I don't think I look 36, but I didn't think you were even as old as I am.
We got to go find out if that runoff from Carroll House, whatever Brooke and Amy Dubman are eating and drinking, is that getting into Coldwater Creek? And that's why I look so beautiful. Thank you for the compliment.
Oh, that's great. Hey, man, you've done a great job helping put all of this together and the logistics and whatnot. Thank you to Dr. Bob Onder for joining us, Chris Stigall, and also Kevin Slayton. And now you've got me hooked. I'm gonna watch Backrooms. Okay, I might just have to be scared for the rest of the night, but you sold it well, Joey.
Call me,
and
text me, whatever. I'll be up all night if you need some comfort.
All right, Joey, enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right.
Thank you, my friend. It was an honor to work with you.
Absolutely, always a pleasure. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. Thank you to Tim Jones and Chris Arps for letting me fill their vacancy. The great Jeff Allen for always trusting me. I don't know why he continues to do that, but it is always fun to hop on the air with you all. Go Cardinals! Big game tonight against the Cubbies. We'll see how they fare over the weekend. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon here on News Talk STL.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear? Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers.